Today was a normal day. I got up, I went about my business, I got dressed, and then I went to work. And on the way to work, I called my mom, as I do most days on my way into the office, and it was setting up to be a normal, typical first day in the office for a new week. Except then two things happened within a half hour that made it not so normal a work day. First, my mom ended our call with, "Be safe." It's a weird thing to say to someone who's going to their office job, but I understood. And I accepted it, and we moved on pretty quickly because we didn't want to talk about why it was necessary. Within a half hour, my wife called me, wanting to know that I had gotten to the office safely and that I was getting about my day in comfort. Also not necessarily atypical, but an unusual way to go about it. As a rabbi, I shouldn't have a dangerous job. What do? I go to an office where I do paperwork and I send emails and I think and I come up with ideas and I make phone calls and I care for people. All of those things should be mundane, and the biggest threat should be that maybe I hurt somebody's feelings. But after this weekend, we know that that's not the case. After the weekend that we had, we know that to be a Jewish professional is to live with the constant threat that maybe the next time someone decides to take their anger out on the Jews, it'll be our turn. And I gotta tell you, I'm upset about that. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, and I'm incredibly protective of the loved ones who look at me as if I'm the biggest threat to the safety of our family and that I am the one they need to worry most about. You should not have to be afraid to go be a rabbi. And more importantly, you should not have to be afraid to go be a Jew who enjoys spending time in your congregational home. And this week we were reminded that we simply do not have the luxury of behaving like everybody else, as if tomorrow is promised and as if every stranger who walks in is just looking for help. Now, one of the things you might have noticed about the response to what happened this weekend is people responded by going to work to do the kindness that is fundamental to our Jewish identity. Rabbis found out on Shabbat that there was work to be done in taking care of our communities, and we went and we sent the emails, and we set up the vigils, and we did the work to make sure that we were supporting our communities as much as we were being supported, if not more. Jewish institutions had to go online, and Jews of all kinds had to go and say, "We do not deserve to be treated like this. We need you to pay attention when these kind of things happen, and we need to see some evidence that something is changing in order to help us feel comfortable continuing to go about our lives." After the Pittsburgh shooting of 2018, we saw lots of responses. We saw nice t-shirts, we saw nice hashtags, and frankly, we did not see enough policy change or behavioral change to actually feel comfortable knowing this wouldn't happen again. And so as I stand in this moment, sitting in my office on a Tuesday afternoon, feeling like I should be just fine to go about my business, I can't help but be frustrated that I have to think about the safety of my community while we do the sacred work that is supposed to help bring meaning to people's lives. I'm supposed to worry that this is not the space of health and healing that we usually make it, where the only goal I have is to make sure that everybody who comes through that door feels like they're cared for. Perhaps most heartbreaking is my feeling this morning that we occasionally get people coming in off the streets looking for some food, looking for some money, looking for some help. And my feeling is generally, how can you possibly work for a Jewish institution and not help someone in need? It's so against the fundamental principles of what it means to be a Jew in the world. And yet I know that I can't be opening the door like that anymore. I can't let people in the building for a few minutes of warmth while I find a resource sheet to give them. I can't take people at their word that all they want is a little bit of change to make sure they can pay their bills and get some gas and go where they need to go. I have to be a level of suspicious that is in direct counter productivity of my own beliefs and my own principles because my safety and the safety of my community is such at high risk right now. We as a society need to come to terms with that. And frankly, we need to pay for it. We need to be okay with the fact that there is a tax on the lack of gun violence legislation in our country. And that tax is the kind of pain and suffering that happened in Texas this weekend and that happened in all Jewish communities all around the world. We need to find different ways to make it so that if you want to keep guns as accessible as they are in this country, we need to put some taxes on them to make sure that we have the financial infrastructure to keep spaces of worship safe, to keep communities on the fringe safe, and to ensure that those guns cannot be used to do something like this. If that feels like an infringement on your freedom, I'm sorry to say, this week made me not care anymore, because my community deserves the freedom of being able to come and worship in peace, and my community deserves the freedom of being able to know that we're looked out for by our world just as much as the rights of somebody to carry a weapon. Now, I know this is an incredibly difficult time for a lot of people. My Jewish friends and family, I know we're going through it right now, thinking about what is safe and what isn't. What can we do and what can't we do? And I'm here to tell you that our mission of being kind to one another, of looking out for one another and being one family of Jewish people is not changing. If anything, these last several hours have shown our ability to take care of one another is our greatest skill. Keep it up, and when you feel alone, you know how to get a hold of me. Use the links in this webpage to ask for help, because I'm here for you. None of us are in this alone. To what I call those Jews adjacent, those non-Jewish people who are married to Jews, who are parents to Jews, who are children to Jews, all those people who have Judaism in their family and in their heart, but might not identify with our particular faith tradition, I want to say thank you. This falls heavy on your shoulders, and I want you to know I see the work, and we as Jewish communities see the work you're doing to ensure that our Jewish loved ones are given all the space and all the love they need and they deserve. And I want you to know that love is reciprocated. It is not easy to be a Jewish person right now, and it is not easy to love a Jewish person right now with the fear that goes into that. So thank you for taking the time and energy to be there to support us. And for those who are not members of the Jewish community in any real way, I want to ask you to step up. It is worthy of us noting that this was Martin Luther King weekend, a weekend where we talk about what does it mean to be an activist? What does it mean to look out for communities that have been marginalized for too long? What does it mean to end oppression in any way we find it? And I gotta tell you, as a Jewish person, I am here to do the work of racial justice, of standing by any of my colleagues and friends in the world who are going through oppressions of their own. I am here to fight against racism. I am here to fight against homophobia and transphobia. We are here to do this work with you. And I'm sorry to ask, but we need you to be there with us too. We need a threat to any form of kindness or compassion to be the opponent of all of us. Because if we're not in this together, then we're in this alone, and that doesn't work for anybody. Judaism teaches us, and frankly, all faith communities teach us, that we're supposed to look out for those who dwell amongst us. We're supposed to look out for those who need our help. And I'm sad to say the Jews today need your help. And if you're watching this, it's because you care enough to know that the Jews could use your support. We have a lot of work to do. We have work to do to make sure that we feel safe in our buildings and our homes. We have work to do to make sure we have really hard conversations about what does the security look like in a space of worship? What does it look like to be just curious enough, just questioning enough to say, I don't know you, can you fix that? Without letting ourselves get hijacked by our own kindness. That's a hard thing to navigate. We're gonna have to talk about our budgets. And where do we spend our money in allocating, making sure that we're safe and also taking care of all the other needs of a community? We are on the precipice of opening a brand new conversation that we've had before, but in a whole new way, about what does it mean to stand up for ourselves, to make sure that we're safe, and to make sure we're still on brand and on mission. And all I ask is that you see what's going on in the Jewish community, whether you're a part of it or not. See the struggle we're going through, see the pain that this moment has caused, and rise to the occasion so that we can use this as a moment to remember we never should be here again. If this happens again, God forbid, we can't say, oops, we forgot to take action since the last time. Enough is enough. And it's time we get to work, doing the hard work of being there to support one another and fight to make problems like the one we experienced in Texas this weekend a non-issue in our future. Thank you for joining me this week as we tackle a topic that isn't fun for anyone, but is necessary for everyone. And I encourage you to come back next week as we continue to explore how do we make sure that Judaism and religion as a whole is beautiful, meaningful, and safe for anyone who wants it. Thank you so much, and have a good week.